This is Soccer 101 with Moon and Rocchio.
Welcome back to Soccer 101. I'm Moon, that's Rocc. A little bit disappointed. We'll get straight into things. We went over the weekend back to Portland. And, you know, St. Louis City has had Portland's number, but we came away with just a point. Now, normally you go in, you know, bottom of the West, up against a good team, a good offensive team like Portland, and you come out with a 4-4 draw and 1 point, and that might be a good thing. But these were very important points, and very important points dropped, considering we had a lot of leads. We even went to the half 3-1, up 3-1, and came out with a 4-4 tie. It was a bummer. Rocc, how did you feel?
Yeah, you can't walk away and not call it a bummer. You needed 3 points, as John Hackworth said. Before the restart of MLS play, he was looking at winning 7 out of 9, and you had one of those in the bag. You know, you're up 2-0, you're up 3-1, and then you're up 4-2. And letting that game slip away and letting 2 points slip away alongside of it is, at this point in the season, and considering where you are, 10 points behind the 9th place in MLS, it's an inexcusable loss. And as much as we want to be positive about the offense, we talked about last week, Moon, that we are obviously very happy with the offense. We love the new look attack. Hardell and Toyshirt are clearly providing a lot of extra oomph to the attack, and obviously Hardell gets 3 assists in the game. Toyshirt, I thought, maybe not his best game, but I still thought he looked solid. The players around them, including, of course, Simon Bescher, creating that penalty and getting the header for the first goal. These guys are all, making things happen. But for us, it was the defense. And again, the defense just wasn't good enough. But the things I want to focus on here, though, Moon, is I don't think this was 100% what we've been harping on with the defensive issues, which is, I think, a lot of those goals, especially the Moore goal, which was their third, and the Rodriguez goal, which was their second, those were mistakes from the whole defensive structure across the field, and that it was a bad turnover up front leading to transition, or just a poor structure in the midfield or in the attack that let them too easily carry the ball up and then attack the defense too easily. And so, and then obviously I think you had possession issues that led to them controlling the ball despite being a man down, then leads to a light foul for Kojima, and then Evander obviously rips your heart out 9 minutes into stoppage time. So it wasn't necessarily the defensive fundamentals that we've been harping on as much this time, Moon. I really think this was another case where a lack of fundamentals across the entire team led to a lot of turnovers. You put yourselves in bad situations, and because of that, you put yourself behind the 8 ball, and you couldn't capitalize on the other end. And that's how you kept giving up leads over and over again in this game. It's just it's not a good fundamental team, and I think heck, you can even highlight that with the free kick. I understand. If you saw the video after the game, Berkey was telling Evander, "I didn't have them jump because I thought you might go low." Well, again, I'm not the tactical guy when it comes to, these kind of things, but why not put a guy down on the ground if that's the case? So just little bits where City just isn't operating at 100%, and that's why they kept letting those leads go, and that's just a disappointing thing to watch happen.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on some of that kind of stuff. I think it was a fundamental team a bundle of mistakes, a lot of which, so if you break it down simply, the offense delivered here. We had, like you said, a Hartzell comes in and makes a record-breaking or a record-tying 3 assists, only the second player in MLS history to record 3 assists in his regular debut. Pretty incredible. Sets up 3 goals in his debut. For a team that has struggled to have any sort of offensive gelling. So that is great. We saw the offense deliver. So it wasn't the offense's fault. And I know what you're saying. It isn't exactly just the cluster F of defending that
it's not as much as the man marking issues where you're just letting them walk the ball throughout the box and make easy passes. It was, there were defensive mistakes. Obviously, Totland gets beat on the back,
was beat
on the backside on the back post again, and Coach Hackworth said in training earlier this week that both the left and the right back spots are up for a lot of competition, and they're up for, he's got a big decision to make because they've let up goals in both the left and right back spots. And so I think there's a good chance we see if not a start, another maybe full half of Hannes Horn at the left side. But I wonder if maybe we'll see, I don't want to say punitive, but kind of maybe a punitive start for a different player on the right side, considering
100%.
Totland has, despite how consistent he's been at times, he keeps letting up things on the back post, and that was another issue where, I mean, if you watch the play again, for some reason he just takes his foot off the gas while he's running with the man. I mean, he has it's not like one of those things where he got caught ball watching and just didn't even see the man and let the guy go on his run. He's running with the guy on the run, but for some reason the Portland player, Rodriguez, keeps running, and Totland just stops one step, and that one step is the difference between him being in his hip pocket and being 100% beat by Rodriguez. And so it's an inexplicable thing where you look at it where it's not even like he got beat by skill. It's just how do you make one misstep where you stop running? That makes no sense. And it makes no sense, but I think it might lead to maybe an Akil Watts start over on the right side. And maybe we see them go into a back five.
I agree. That was going to be my focal point for today's podcast, actually, is just because the wing backs have left everything to be desired recently, and there's got to be some sort of shakeup. And we like Totland. We've been supporters of his, but in the last couple
it's hard
weeks,
not to be. He's one of the few bright side defenders for the first half of the season.
Yeah, but at the last couple weeks, he has just seemed to be very easy to beat, easy to throw, easy to make a meal of, and it's cost us. It's cost us a lot of points. I'm not saying he has, independently, but what I was going to say as far as the defense goes, there's a lot of one-on-one matches that are being lost that should never have been lost. And the only other thing that I'll criticize as far as the whole, and I agree with you. That's a whole team thing, is there were a lot of strange, unforced turnovers in the midfield and in the defense. It almost looks like they're trying to play like a prettier game than they should be playing, and all of a sudden you see a turnover, and you're just like, how did that happen?
When you say a prettier game, and specifically in the midfield, are you referring to the longer line-cutting passes that we're seeing, or is there something else you're referring to?
Every once in a while, you almost see you'll see like one touches being done where there doesn't need to be one touches,
okay.
unless you're just really on it. And,
I see what you're saying.
We're giving up really strange turnovers on these like one-touch balls that don't necessarily need to be one-touch balls, or balls that seem to be like a pass like they're about to work a triangle, but it's only one guy signed up for the triangle. You know what I mean? And then suddenly we're at a turnover, and you even see the intended targets going, what the hell was that? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of strange decision making as far as passing, and I think where you're seeing it, A, is in turnovers first, and in B, in possession, where we're ahead of the game the majority of the game, and you'll see possession increasing, and not in a strategic way, increasing on the opponent's side. And I think we've been outpossessed in the last couple of months, just pretty flatly, maybe 55-60% against us every single time, which again, if that's part of the strategy and whatever, it's fine, but a lot of that is coming from turnovers, where you have control of the ball and you can keep control of the ball. I think ultimately the turnovers and one-on-one defensive mishaps are what cost us a lot of points. And even on some corners, you'll see some guys that I wouldn't use the term ball watching, but they're not doing the fundamentals of what you're supposed to be doing on corners and set pieces. I didn't realize that was a Berkey thing on that last goal.
Yeah, he talked to
them
Evander. He told him, he said, I thought you might go low, so I didn't have them jump. And again, my question is again, I didn't play a lot of soccer. My tactical stuff is more out in the field. When it comes to things like free kicks and set pieces, that's something that I feel like when you play the game, it's a lot easier to pick up on those little things. And as somebody learning the game, that's something I'll admit I'm still extremely ignorant of some of the little things. So am I wrong that if you think the guy's going to go low, instead of telling you guys not to jump and taking away one thing, don't you lay a guy down on the ground? Or is there another factor that I'm not thinking of where you're wondering if he's going to drop it into a runner, and so you needed that defender in the pack it would have been the left side of your defense to kind of make sure you have another body taking away a passing option? Let me know your thoughts on that one, Moon. You played a lot more soccer.
I don't know. I never played semi-pro or pro, obviously, so I don't know. It's got to be system to system. Yeah. I personally was never instructed by a goalie to jump or not to jump. It was more about, this faux box of what my responsibility is to cover. If a ball sneaks through the very small space, I'm only so big. A wall is only so big, but we're responsible for covering, a few more square feet, up, down, left, and right. You know what I mean?
I think
because
it makes sense
as a defender in the wall, you're not just standing and jumping.
If you have tape on a guy, it makes sense to really if this is what the guy likes to do, it makes sense to give a lot of instructions to the wall and things like that. That part makes sense to me. But I just don't. Why not? I mean, why not cover every avenue, especially if you have a game on him and you're thinking this is what he wants to do? Why not? I'm not sure if we're missing something here. I know it's been litigated since the game because that clip came out. It just seems like an odd thing to me.
It does seem like an odd thing, but again, I don't know. I bet you that changes system to system, coach to coach, and goalie to goalie.
Can we go back to the possession points really quick?
Yeah.
Because, I think people expected, obviously, a change when there was a change of coaching, and now that there's new players. They expect something a little bit different. But you're still never going to win the possession battle when you're a pressing team. And I understand that when you're losing the possession battle to the level they are, and the Timbers and City game, according to FBref, is 61 to 39% in favor of Portland Timbers. So that's still bad. But the possession thing, I wonder, is because I see people saying, I want to park the bus. I want to see Leuven, just instead of trying to make a line-splitting pass, I want to see him just play the ball sideways. I want to see Chris Durkin, more of a sweeper role. I want to see him defending that way. People just want to see a more conservative team with the lead. And listen, I'm not saying that's not a completely legitimate line of thought, but again, when you're talking about this is what I get in with a lot of fans, which is the difference between what I would prefer and what I simply think is going to happen and what I think would be the best thing to happen. And that is, City's not going to play conservatively. I don't think John Hackworth wants to play that way. I don't think I don't think there's some remnant of style from the previous coach that they can't get over. I think that's just the style this team's going to play. I think it's a fairly, one-track mind inside of the offices about what they're going to play. I think everyone likes playing that style. I think there's a reason that it works for them, and I just think the press looks really good. It still turns the ball over at a good level. I understand why people want a more conservative team, especially later in the game, because the press is so demanding. I just think, let's just be realistic about this. That's not going to change here. So how, within this scheme, knowing the press is not going to change, how can we expect City to make changes to kill games better? And
listen, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, for me, it looked like they were trying to kill the game by scoring another goal. And I can't fault them for that, is my overarching point as to why I'm not necessarily holding against them for not going super conservative when they were up 2-0, 3-1, or 4-2.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. My thoughts, man, with the possession thing, and you're talking about, if strategy is in place, possession doesn't matter at all if the opportunity or the shots on goal are somewhat split even. And I don't think, you're the stats guy, you'll have to look it up. I don't think that's what's happening here. I'm saying if we lost 61% of possession to Portland and we had the same amount of shots, fine. Obviously, it's playing a game. And I don't necessarily think fans are looking for more of a conservative play. I'm talking about a lot of those possession numbers came from turnovers. And if they're coming from turnovers and the possession is being held in their half and you're really on it with your midfield and with your defense as far as keeping goal-scoring opportunities for your opponents away, then fine. The possession doesn't matter. But if I'm right, I
agree with you there.
If the stats reflect how I felt when I was watching this match, is we were giving the ball away and it was turning into goal-scoring opportunities and a lot more shots from Portland than St. Louis.
Oh, God, yeah. No, my God. Portland had 32 shots.
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
Okay, and that's my point. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be playing this crazy. Like we're going to lose the ball a lot up in the front half.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it was
because
a
of
good
a style
game.
of press.
And I'm not saying it was a good game necessarily, and that they didn't blow it at the end. I'm trying to do the best way of scope out how this team's going to play across these last 8 games and figure out within the realistic way we expect them to play, how can we expect them to get better? And I think just them completely changing their style isn't realistic to happen in this season. It's a fair question to ask going into 2025, but it's not for the next 8 games. They're not going to park the bus even when they have a 2-goal lead. It's not going to happen.
I don't think they should. I don't think we should deviate from the plan. I just think we should do some of the other things a bit more basic and a bit better. And the plan will come into play. There's a lot of talent out there, man. There's a lot of talent.
Yeah.
So let's get into that. We're not talking about the injuries so much anymore.
Thank
but
God.
let's definitely.
And speaking of that, Klaus in action training. He is available for Sunday, but it doesn't look like he's going to get the start. Allman Nielsen, they're being more cautious with both of them. Nielsen also picked up a little bit of a knock in training, so no Allman Nielsen this weekend. And Bloom is training with the team again, but I don't really know how much I expect him to be involved lately. So yes, the injury talk finally is a smaller footnote. And again, maybe just a little bit, maybe a tiny little present you that's hidden behind all the other ones that Santa Claus brings us. Maybe he'll like a 10-minute run at the end of the game on Sunday.
Yeah, I think we maybe see Klaus, maybe 25% there. We won't see Alm. I don't think we'll see Blom. No. Nielsen, I would love to see back on the field. They're saying Horn is 100% coming out of the preseason, and Kessler is coming in after a big break. Both need time there. I'm reading here too that the training, obviously with this heat, they've been talking a lot about the heat, but the training's been going well, and that they're hoping the Galaxy just aren't ready for it.
Well, and here's the thing, and I believe I believe you're reading from the wonderful notes of Jen Cease, who's part of the St. Louis City broadcast, and Jen's fantastic. You can actually catch her out at Coach Jen MTD on X. Her training notes are absolutely fantastic, and I was reading those and I kind of laughed because the high for Sunday is like 85. And
yeah,
it's actually gonna be like a beautiful day on Sunday in St. Louis. It sucks right now as we're recording this and putting it out on Thursday. The weather's going to suck today, but Sunday's gonna be beautiful. For an afternoon game, and so maybe the heat and humidity, I don't think it's going to really affect the LA boys as much as they're hoping.
Maybe not, but the humidity is going to be a little gasping. As far as it's an afternoon match. If it was 86 and in the evening or something, I think it would be.
Man, I tell you what, I gotta make some plans for post game. It's gonna be a beautiful day on Sunday.
Yep. I'm just hoping we get any sort of edge that we can, because Galaxy are number 1 in the West right now.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about. I thought we were going to talk about positive things here, Moon.
We are talking about positive, man. Listen, Portland's kicking butt too, and they're a good offensive team, and we had their number. We should have had that. So this is a team that should be winning games. That's positive. That's as positive as it gets right now. We should be winning games, and we absolutely have to. We have to improve and tighten up just some fundamentals and some defense stuff, and we're a team to be reckoned with. And I think teams know that. I don't think the Galaxy's thinking they're going to come in here and run away with it. But I do think that they're going to be looking at a lot of tape and looking at a lot of individual weaknesses and saying, let's just exploit this and see what happens.
I think they're coming here and expecting to score 3 or 4 goals. That's pretty much been their MO against everyone. The run they have been on since mid-May is unfreaking believable. They've only lost 3 games, and they've sat there and they've racked up 10 wins and just 3 losses in their last 13 games. And, I mean, they are just racking up goals like crazy in their games, including since July. I mean, 3 goals against the Rapids, 3 against the Timbers, 2 against Atlanta, 2 against Minnesota. I mean, they have that blemish that is that Dallas win right before the League's Cup got underway, or the Dallas loss, I should say, right before the League's Cup got underway. I'm not feeling too positive about either of the LA games. They were kind of the ones I had circled as the black marks of the 7 out of 9 prediction from John Hackworth. And so I want to see a little bit more from the defense. Part of that is going to be how the defensive additions continue to play. We've seen what the offensive guys have been able to do. Can the defensive guys do that? To that point, Moon, I want to get your thoughts as the defender. The new man, Henry Kessler, he got the start, the Tim Parker trade. What did you think of the new number 5 for St. Louis City?
I worried less. I'm serious. Somebody coming into new squad, new back line, it's kind of new feels, and everybody at a loss. I thought it was a pretty good outing with some with some confidence. And here's the thing: I was staring at Totland the whole time, just stressing out about Totland. So I really wasn't thinking too much about the center backs, which honestly is a relief. That's a great sign. I thought it was decent. I think there's nowhere to go but up. Obviously, we're 13th freaking place in the West. But the scary thing, just to tap with that, with the Galaxy coming back, the Galaxy, don't forget, they're only, I think, 4 or 5 points ahead of LAFC, and they have a lot of games. They have a lot more games played. So even though they're first by 4 or 5, 6 points, they have a lot to play for here, because I believe LAFC and whoever is under LAFC both have like 2 or 3 games in hand to catch a lot of ground on LA Galaxy, and they want to win the West. They want to win this thing, so they're coming in here not just looking at it in an easy match or hoping for a win to stay atop. It matters to them. It really matters still at this point in the season. So this defense has to gel, has to go out there and just give everything. And I'm really curious to see who they put on the wings, because that's the only thing I'm stressed out about. So thankfully Kessler is not stressing me out.
Yeah, I just have a feeling we're not going to see anything near the 3-3 draw that we did to start the season. The Galaxy are just such a completely different team than they were in that game, and
so are we.
Yeah,
it's a team seeing it. It's a different team seeing a different team.
I still don't think it's that. It's not a big difference. I mean, it's a very big difference into what they became and what St. Louis City has become over that same exact time frame. It's just the attackers they have, what City's defense is doing right now, the inability to control the ball. I don't see how this one goes. Very good for City. I mean, Ricky Puig, Painsil, Jovicic, Chavez. I mean, it's an unbelievable attack they got going right now. And they added the guy we all wanted, Marco Royce. So and he's already making an impact with a goal and an assist in his first game. So I mean, just the attack that they have, the defense and the possession and the ball control we've seen from City. Because my big thing here is, people want to point out that the press has been pulled back since they've moved on from Carnell to Hackworth, and they've seen a little bit more possession. But as far as I see it, when we look at these ball control graphs that MLS Stat puts out on X, and a very good follow, and the numbers they put out are great. The control in the field hasn't gotten better overall. There's the ability to control certain parts of the field has not gotten better. And in some parts of the field, it's gotten worse since the change in July. And I don't think that's necessarily saying the team's gotten worse anyway. I think there's been trade-offs. But I think people who want to say, well, the possession is bad and the focus is bad and the team doesn't control the ball, I think that's, again, I think this is another conversation where we're talking about the trade-offs that systems make. And when you aren't the most talented team, the pros of your system need to be accentuated, but the cons of your system are also going to stand out in some games. And so I just think this conversation about possession and ball control, it's a lot of nothing. It's very cyclical, and I just don't think it's actually getting to the heart of what the issue is with City, or what the things will be that actually take City into the win column and potentially the playoffs if they actually fix it.
Yeah, okay, I agree with you there. The only reason I'm focusing on it is because I think our defense has been so lacking that I have not had any hope in them.
Yeah.
And the only hope that I have is to prevent any pressure being put on them. And that's where possession in the midfield matters.
Yeah.
And whether it's our possession or their possession, again, if it was their possession and we're holding them to the center of the field or to the opposing half, that's a different story. But we're talking about possession that's leading to 3 to 4 times the shots on goal from our opposing team, and that's 3 to 4 times the pressure that's put on our defense that I've had no hope in the last 4 months.
The Portland game's a bad example because they got outshot 32 to 12 or whatever.
It's a perfect example of what I'm saying.
No, you're right. It's a terrible example of what I'm trying to say, which is fair, and I very well could be completely wrong, and I'm very much okay with that.
The defense makes me nervous, and I just don't like seeing them under the pressure.
What if the team is just bad at retaining possession? Like, what if the players are just bad at short passes? What if I know that it's a stupid thing, but like, what if
that's fine?
And so if that's the idea, then and what I saw during the Portland game was a team that was terrible at retaining possession, really bad at shorter connecting passes for the most part, but we're making the right runs. We're switching the field at times very well, including Edward Leuven in a great one that led to the first corner that led to the first goal. We're passing the ball deep very well. And I saw a team that said instead of shelling up and trying to play good defense, which we can't do because we're not good at it, we're going to go for another goal and go for another goal and go for another goal. And that's why we saw them find different ways. And this is why I'm intrigued by the future of City over these next 8 games, because we saw them do things offensively that we've never seen them do. And those things we saw them do were built, in my opinion, to slow down the game and create in different ways that Portland hadn't seen yet. And that was a way to manufacture more opportunities because they knew we're going to keep giving up. We're going, especially late, we always do, we're going to give up shots. So we need to keep padding this. And when I speak to that, what I'm talking about is we've never seen them really do this before, which is they would give the ball to Henry Kessler on the right side because he was playing at the right center back. Edward Leuven would then come from the left center midi spot. He would then drop all the way down to the back line at the right spot, receive the ball, and then he would dictate from there. And then later on in the game, they added another wrinkle where when they would do that, they would then drag Marcel Hartl, who's been playing the left attacking midi, left wing spot, however you want to refer to it as, since he came over, and they were dragging Hartl into the middle. And then Leuven would connect with Hartl, and then Hartl had Leuven at the right flanker spot, and the entire left side of the field open for him to dribble into, to find a runner. So they're doing all these things that we've never seen them do offensively that really intrigue me about this coaching staff and make me think, these guys know what they're doing. They're trying new things. They understand this is the best group of players we have. Let's put this group of players in the most winning situations. And right now, that is playing an offensive forward version of soccer, no matter what the score is. And you might disagree with that, and I could be completely wrong. But if that's the gamble they're going to take over the next 8 games, I'm at least excited to watch how it goes.
Oh yeah, me too. And I think they've shown a lot of momentum. They showed a lot of momentum in that match, which is why it was so heartbreaking to just get a point, because we should have taken more. And
True.
Listen, I'm about anything that works, and there are plenty of examples of teams that never had the possession column won, that were able to win championships, for goodness sake. But all the parts of the strategy have to work. You can't have it every way that you want. You can't have a bad defense and an injured offense, and there's 100 ways to slice it. But I agree with what you're saying, and I'm excited to see the momentum going forward, because there was definitely a lot of momentum shown. So going positive to positive, let's just go back to this Galaxy stat kind of chart. The nice thing is they are playing away, and that's where they've lost almost every one of their matches. They've only lost 5, and 4 of those were on the road. They've only tied 7, and the majority of those were on the road. So
You are sunshine today, Moon. I love it.
I'm trying to find the positives here, dude.
Here's my thing.
I think we have a chance. What if this momentum goes crazy, and then we can just lock it up a little bit? All we have to do is lock it up a little bit with the talent that we have there.
All you got to do is win 5-4. And that's why my only take is this is the game I want to see a 5-man defense. I think it makes sense with the attacking prowess they have, with the speed they have. My good God almighty, can some of these guys run? And so, with that said, go with a more defensive-minded lineup so that if you still want to play forward football, at least you got bodies in there that are more comfortable defending. Bring in a third center back. Make your wing back so that when you ask them to provide almost all of your width, especially through the midfield, then they don't always have to be counted on to also cover everything defensively. Give Hannes Horn, maybe put him in as the left center back, maybe start him at left wing back. I think Jay Reed played a pretty solid game against Portland. I know some people are down on it. I actually think he played a really great game against Portland. Every time he got beat, it's because he was playing above midfield, because he was probably being told to play like that because everything I just said about the wingbacks. So maybe get Horn in there at the left center back spot. Maybe get Horn in there at the left wing back spot. Keel Watts, I think, has shown that he's a better wingback than he is a fullback. So give Totland this game off. Put Watts over on the right wingback spot, and then obviously Kessler and Hebert, maybe even Yarrow as the other center backs. I think this is the game to make that move. The only issue with that move is that Toyshirt, Hartle, Bescher, and Nukvi Thorson have all played really, really well since the start of the League's Cup game, and I don't know how you can play all four of them with a five-man back line, and so that's the only issue I wonder is their thought process is these guys have earned minutes. Let's not go to a formation that, one, we're not super comfortable with because we haven't played it a ton except for one start that went bad with a previous coach and a couple times as a secondary or tertiary formation mid-game. And let's just keep rolling with what we know. That's probably what happens. But if there was any game to finally pull the trigger and switch things up with the depth you now have for the back line and go with an odd man, this is the game to do it.
Man, I couldn't have said it better myself, dude. I never thought that you would say that, because especially since you're talking about let's just score more goals than the opposing team. So I didn't think you'd be adding a defender to the line. But
and the way I would do it, I would sit Toyshirt, and I would go Bescher and Nukvi up front with Hartle playing the center midi, a classic number 10. Then you got Durkin and Leuven as your midfielders, and that's all she wrote. Let's go win a game, maybe 3-2.
I completely agree. So your back five would be who again? You got Reed on the left?
I'll go with Reed on the left, Horn, Hebert, and Kessler as my back three, and then let's go with Akil Watts as my right wing back.
Okay, so Totland's out. Okay, I totally agree with you. I'm going
to go and bench Totland. I just think Jen's post that we were talking about earlier on Twitter, again, Jen says the incredible post on Twitter. You can follow her. At Coach Jen MTD. The way she had it was on the defensive picks for next game, quote unquote, right and left back are really tough decisions right now. They've given up goals at those two positions. They must defend the far post better. That seems like it's a little bit pointed towards seeing some changes there, and that's why I think we might. That's why I think we might see some changes there. By the way, one other poll from Jen's incredible post from Hack, talking about giving up 2 goals lead. It was a mentality of we have a lead, let's not lose it. And he would rather the players have a let's go win this mentality. You can't train tactics and mentality separately, so it's a bit of both. That's where I got a lot of my theory about them playing an attacking mentality and saying let's go for another goal instead of saying let's protect this lead. That sound to me saying let's go win this game, that sounds like a more attacking, aggressive mentality than what fans want them to have. But that's what they're training for, and they have one mindset, and so I'm with it.
How would you form that back five? You would have a center back, and then a right back and a left back, and then the right wing back, left wing back? Or are you having more of a diamond in the center where you really have 3 center backs? One's kind of playing the old 80s stopper position where he's kind of forward a bit.
No. The reason I play a back five is to alleviate the pressure on your wing backs' defensive responsibilities. let the wingbacks do what they do really well, which is create a lot of your width, create a lot of those crosses into your strikers and your attacking plays, and make it so that when they're coming back to defend, they're coming back to pressure maybe on a double, pressure the ball, pressure a passing lane, and they're not actually chasing the guy with the ball, and which seems to happen so much because they have to play so high. So
it's all we've been seeing.
So it's less for me about sweeping out the middle, which I think Durkin does such a great job of. I think I kind of actually want them playing back, and also the other reason I don't want to push that is because no matter how much you try to hold them back, Kyle Hebert's going to step 15 feet up anyway. So I mean, just kind of he's gonna step up in that stopper role no matter how I game this, because that's the way Hebert loves to do it. I know some people don't like it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I think that's why Hebert also works really well. Maybe as the middle guy in that middle three, and again, Horn as the guy on the left, and then Kessler over at the right center back. Because again, I really like the way they used Kessler as an outlet passer, and I think if you do it in that back five, it works the exact same way, where Leuven can join them, come get the ball, and you can do a lot of cool things with maybe Horn, joining the attack as well from that left center back spot. If you need a little bit of extra push, I think there's a lot of versatility on this lineup. They could really get creative and use these things. And again, with the way they've been using Leuven and Hartle and Kessler in that Portland game, I trust this team to get kind of creative and figure these things out.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. The more I watch it and the more we talk about it, the more I'm just determined to say that this is a really talented squad that once it starts gelling in both ways, offense and defense in the right ways, it's going to be great. Our defense no longer looks like a box of puppies, just like jumping in different directions and all that kind of stuff.
They were calmer with the ball than I've ever seen. I don't know if I've ever seen, at least for the first 70 minutes, I don't think I've ever seen the back four of City consistently pass the ball against pressure as well as they did for the first 60 minutes of that game. I was really impressed with just the calmness, and to your point, it just looked like a more mature defense in a lot of ways.
It did, immediately.
And then they blew the game, of course, but still, for a while there, It looked better.
Still your fault, but we love you.
60 minutes is not 90.
Yeah, September has 5 matches. 5. It's a home, it's away, it's a home, it's away, it's a home. So Sunday will kick off the first of the September matches. Sunday, 1:45 here at City Park against the LA Galaxy, and then New England Revolution, and we'll play that in Gillette Stadium the following week. Then we take on Minnesota at home, then San Jose away, and then Kansas City at home. Before we close up, you got anything else there, Rocc?
Let's see a little bit better defending. Let's see less turnovers, and let's see a couple more goals.
Will you be at the match?
Oh, I'll be at the match. Yeah, I'm not going to miss a Sunday afternoon like this.
I'm going to try as well. Things are looking good. Things are looking good. All right, Rocc, with that, we say, again, thank you so much for listening to Soccer 101 podcast. If you don't already subscribe, please do. Hit the little 3 dots, copy link, and share it with a friend that you know is either getting into soccer or already has, so they can criticize what we do and don't know. And love you, Rocc. Love you, St. Louis. Let's go, City. With that, we say, go!